Welcome. Today, we're in Bandon, Oregon. We're at the beach here. Come to talk about my testimony. As a witness in the court of truth, it's important to bring your testimony before the court. So today, I'm going to rewind my life story. We're going to give you a brief synopsis of how I came to this way, this walk, this path. And hopefully you'll be able to glean some understanding of how this process works, and hopefully you'll enjoy my testimony, because without these things happening to me, I would have never come to this conclusion or this way. So the first thing I'm going to do is discuss my health, because this is where it all starts. When I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with severe asthma. Not just your typical asthma. I've been in the hospital hundreds and hundreds of times, and on breathing machines, and when I was young I was always on multiple medications, steroids, inhalers, this pill, that pill, try this, try that. And at best, most of them only brought temporary relief, and the side effects of the prescriptions were really hard on a young child. And again, this started when I was 3 years old, and my parents really didn't know any better, but the approach that was taken for me was your typical medical approach through the doctors and the pharmaceuticals and our Western medicine system. And these things brought me many, many problems later in life that I did not understand what happened to me as a child, and I did not have the ability to discern, being so young, what was right, what was wrong, and what was healthy for me and what was not. I was just a child. But as I became older and I got into my teenage years, I started studying some books that were in my house that my mother had received from my grandfather, I believe. And these books led me to some personal discoveries that not all was as it seems, but there was an alternative to the approach that was being taken in this modern medical system. And none of those things had ever been discussed when I was a young child. I believe that it was just assumed by everybody in our culture that the way of this medical system was the most advanced, modern way of healing people. But nothing can be further from the truth. This system that we have in place now is the epitome of destruction of the temple. But most of us can't see that. We're like the child who is just listening to his parents or his family members or his friends. And the way that we're led is by way of deceit. This is a great deception going on. And I didn't understand that when I was young. All I was looking for was relief. And my conditions were pretty serious. I had many times in my young adult life where I really couldn't participate with the rest of my friends. And all through my childhood it was even worse. I would have days where I would just be inside, sometimes multiple days, be in bed, couldn't breathe. Sinuses were messed up. I was allergic to everything. When they did the allergy test, the prick test on my back, I was allergic to everything, even the prick without anything on it. And the doctors said they had never seen anybody like that, and that I had a very sensitive system, and that I was going to have to be on lots of medications to compensate for this sensitivity. And so, being a child, I just accepted what was there until, like I said, my teenage years. And as a young teenager, I was just starting to learn about the alternative. Didn't really have a grasp on everything that was going on. It took me many years to understand the totality of the situation. Actually, I'm just getting to that stage in my life now where I really believe I have a complete grasp on how and why we're in this position. And that's what this series is really about. It's about bringing us back to the truth, bringing us back to the original ways, the ancient ways, where man was much more intelligent than they are today. Our history is backwards. Our societies are in regression. we are not the epitome of the most advanced civilizations. They've been hiding the truth for a very long time, because it's the only way that they can get us to participate in their destruction of this temple is through lies and deception. And we're going to unveil this story through this testimony, because it's through my walk through all of these things that led me to all of the doors with the answers behind them. And so I was raised at a very young age, I believe it was about 5, in a very strict Christian family. And when I mean strict, I mean that my mother was highly committed to these religious systems. And I was made to read the scriptures inside, outside, and to put to memory all of the books of the Bible. And when I was young, I could easily recite all of the books of the Bible forwards and backwards. And I also knew the scripture extremely, extremely well, because that's all I really did is read and study. And I was in a non-denominational Calvary chapels most of my life. I went through Calvary Chapel's apologetics program. I believed that I was meant for ministry, but I did not see myself as a pastor or someone that did traditional work within the church. I had always felt at a very young age that I was called for a different purpose. And so I was always seeking what the Father had for me. I believe that each of us has a great destiny that we're supposed to seek. And if we walk in the way of the Father, that He'll lead us there, regardless of what we're doing, or our beliefs, or our religious dogmas, or any of those things that we have that sometimes fractionate us. I don't see the Father judging us in that way, because every single one of us is a measure of our programming. And when I say that, some people get offended by that, but there is nothing else in a human mind but programming. If you look at the human mind like a computer, then what's downloaded is all this system knows. And if you look at religion, this is all provable statistically. And I challenge you to be good Bereans, and to, if you question these things, to look it up, to do this research. But you'll find that, I believe it's over 90% in most cases, that if you take a child and you put him into, let's say, a Buddhist family, that child will in most cases be a Buddhist. If you put them in a Christian family, they're going to be a Christian. If you put them in a Muslim family, they're going to be a Muslim. If you put them in a society like we have today that is typically anti-creation, it's all about dividing man into his animalistic traits, the temporal, the physical, and not acknowledging creation or a creator or us as the temple of the living spirit. We are made to believe that we're accidents and that this is all just happenstance, and this reality that we're in is all corruption. And most of us have these beliefs because of what we've been taught. And in religion, most religions, you're taught not to question the authority of the sages or the scribes or the words that are written or the beliefs within that religious system. And this is universal in all religions. Doesn't matter what religion you're in, they claim that it's the only way. And if you look at Christianity as an example, there is well over 2,000 different denominations. Some say 3,000, close to 3,000. And that alone should make us wonder what is going on. Why has it gotten to this point of division? And this is the same for health. And I learned these things as a child. And what happened to me was an awakening through this illness. Because when I was young, all I had was my medicines to keep me from being in emergency mode. It didn't really fix my problem or get to the root of why I was sick. They were just quick fixes for my ailment. And as I said, in my teenage years, I started studying natural options through the books that I had read on herbs and vitamins and minerals and natural substances. I started to see a different picture. It opened up a different world to me. And what was being shown was radically different than what was being told to me through my family and the doctors and the nurses and many different people, because we saw lots of different specialists. And in my teenage years, my mother also started to look at alternatives. And I started seeing a chiropractor, and he started presenting to us a lot of different natural options. And I believe that everything that I went through was a step for me to become who I am today and do what I do today. Many of you may not know, but I was in the wellness industry for the majority of my life. I've run many wellness centers. I'm a trained herbalist. I'm certified by the American College of Sports Medicine. I've gone through, I would say hundreds of hours of continuing education courses. I'm studied in multiple forms of alternative health, from Chinese herbology, Ayurveda. I've studied every ancient medical system known to man, and I have helped heal thousands of people through this work that has been given to me by way of my own ailments. It seems as though the Father has used everything that's happened to me to help others. And the things that I've gone through have been stepping stones to discoveries. And of course I would have never known any of these things if I didn't experience it for myself. Or I may have known about it, but it wouldn't be as powerful in my life. Like I said, we all have purpose, and if we look to the things that have happened to us, instead of looking at them in a negative way, to look at them as like the potter's clay. We're being formed by the Father, and the experiences that we have are the molding that we need to grow into a beautiful design. So without all of these challenges, I wouldn't be here in this position. And my illnesses led me to these discoveries. I learned that there was an alternative to this medical approach, and that actually the majority of our problems that we have in this life with health are actually due to this system. And if we were to get back to nature, that most of our ailments would disappear. And as a young child, I was raised with a typical diet, an American typical diet. And as a young child, I was drinking lots of milk and eating lots of dairy products and meats and processed foods and lots of cooked foods. And I didn't understand, and nor did my family understand, that what we had been led to in this modern way was destruction of the temple. And we can't see that, because even in modern nutrition, their system or their way is completely backwards. We really do not understand health, even in our modern day. We really have a lot of fractionated misinformation, disinformation, and a lot of people who have part of the truth, but the rest still leads the temple to destruction. And we're all guilty. There is none of us, especially here in America, that are living in a natural way. I have yet to meet anybody who does not participate in some form of this Babylonian modern system, whether that's through food or medicine or anything that we purchase. This system is worldwide, and it has a grasp on all of humanity. It's not just some of us. And it's very hard to discern what's right and what's wrong, because our churches accept the majority of the corruption also. They actually participate in a lot of the corruption. They promote a lot of the corruption without knowing. They don't know. Most people would not be doing these things if they understood from a truth perspective what they were doing. We believe that this modern system is the epitome of advanced, and so the majority of us believe that the medical society and our prescription drugs, our jabs, our toxins that we take are going to help us, but all they are is patch. They're a quick patch for the response that the body is having to being attacked or destroyed by way of an unnatural process. The human body operates in a very amazing way that must be understood from a natural perspective. And if we do not operate in a natural way, then unnatural things begin to take place. And this is why I was so sick as a kid, because my system was overactive, my immune system was over responsive, and this was actually a blessing, as it led me to the discovery of all that I know. I did not want to be in the position that I was in as a child, and so I went on my journey of discovery to learn what I needed to learn about this system. And as a young child, seeing firsthand all of the stories that I was getting from this medical institution, like I said, from the nurses, from the doctors, from anybody that I was participating in for answers. They all towed a very specific line, and they had a very specific story. And this story was the only way that they could get society to participate. They all had to be on the same page. And so this is why we have the AMA and many other medical organizations. They're all there in place like a religious system to make sure that the believers in this system all have the same ideals. And I learned as a young child that this medical system was religion. And a lot of people have already connected those dots. But for me, it was a great awakening to be able to understand that our modern way of life is very religious. A lot of these modern people who consider themselves non-religious are the most religious of all of them. It's just this modern system that they worship. And they put doctors even above the Creator. Because these doctors are telling us that nature doesn't work as well as their pharmakia. And they put it right in our face. And sometimes magic is done this way. It's put in your face, but with another hand up, doing its little dance so that you pay attention to the sleight of hand and not the trick that's being played on you. This is all a game of deception. And we accept it hook, line, and sinker. And this is not condemnation of any of us out here, because we're all in this together. We have all been deceived. We have all been duped. We have all been tricked. This system of religion, medicine, and society, it is all corrupt. And it's all part